You're listening to the Everyday Astrology Podcast. I'm Hilary Scott, your astrologer, and I'm here to bring you the current planetary conditions. So, we are about to experience, and are probably already experiencing, the Leo new moon energy. And Leo is a very warm, sunny, encouraging, ruled by the sun energy. So it, like the sun, likes to shine. And we all have this sort of playful, ideally it's in there somewhere if it hasn't been totally snuffed out. There's this playful, happy, joyful, kind of ready to take it on part of ourselves, our inner child. And that is very Leonian. So wherever in your chart Leo is where this is going to be very lit up right now. So if you had like a Leo rising, the sun would be brightly shining in your first house, very lighting up who you are. But if you had, let's say, Leo in the third house, that would be lighting up in the sector of communications and siblings and short travel and those sorts of third house ruled activities. So if you know your chart, have a look and see where all this action is happening. We do and are feeling also this very, very powerful conjunction. It's actually a triple conjunction because it's Mars and Uranus conjoining, but it's also with the North Node as well, the North Node of the moon. So it's a very like a trigger point or an ignition point when these planets come together. And it's very powerful. It could create explosions. It could create unexpected, Mars is a very powerful, action-orientated, sort of jump in, think later kind of energy. It just wants to act. It's our oomph and our get up and go and our drive. And Uranus also wants to act. It's in a very different, very paradigm shifting type of way. There's this sort of higher level intuitive energy and lightning bolts of ideas. Uranus rules astrology, and that's sort of this sort of otherworldly concepts that we're dealing with. So it can help us understand the fringe technologies and the things that are coming in beyond what our awareness is able to comprehend. And suddenly, just like that, we can comprehend. We've downloaded the necessary update, so to speak. So I just don't even know how, there's so many ways this could be coming together. There is the positives, which are technologies that could be life-saving, but then there's also kind of the dark side and technologies that are maiming and killing. So always there's this dance between the yin and the yang and the dark and the light, and balancing it out is what is necessary for us to reach the center point in our hearts and kind of keep this balance going, which is not easy being a human. It's especially not easy if you happen to be a very black and white sign. I have a Scorpio moon, and that energy is very difficult to negotiate with because it can be very black or white, off with your head type of energy. So just kind of watch how you're feeling and what's being triggered for you right now. There is an opposition between Mercury and Mars leading up to this new moon that will make you feel like you're going in different directions or at cross purposes. Your energy maybe wants to go one way and your mind wants to go another way, or even situations in life are appearing that way. So part of you wants to do something and another part of you is like, no way, I don't want to do that. That is very tricky when you're in sort of a stalemate or at a crossroads in situations and you can't figure out which way to go. That's hold tight when you feel like that, because you might go in the wrong direction and you don't want to go in the wrong direction. That is something that we're all kind of negotiating right now, that energy. And then when the new moon comes on the 28th, it'll be exact at 10:56 a.m. PST. Shortly after the new moon, Jupiter will go retrograde. That's like a big kind of, like, I think with the moon in Leo, and Leo is like helping us be our true and total selves and come from the heart and connect with our highest potential and act that out, make it manifest. And Jupiter wants to bring us the gifts. It wants to expand things. It's our, like, kind of our luck, or also ruling our philosophy and our idea to conceptualize and philosophize, come up with ideas, and what, how could this be? What is it about? The bigger thinking, learning that comes from the Sagittarian energy. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So if you have something that you want to begin with a lot of sort of, I guess, import is all I can think. It's tricky because it's going retrograde. It's stationing, which means it's boom, slowing down, and then it's going to turn around and look back, retrace its steps, figure out what just went down. So it's moving through Aries back into Pisces, and it will go back direct in the 23rd of November. So this whole time, you might feel like you can take a little breath, that you can actually expand at more of a pace that you understand, rather than something just kind of exploding and pushing you off into another direction. So let's see what else we've got here. That same new moon, potent new moon, has got a square between Mercury and Uranus. Again, that Mercury-Uranus energy is like our mind, our mental energy. I actually have lots of people that are interested in astrology and these sorts of things have, or even are just like outside of the box thinkers, will have Mercury and Uranus together in their chart. I have it. Actually, my whole family has it. It could be interesting because even though you might have out of the box ideas, they aren't always the same as other people's out of the box ideas. And I actually noticed that when I would attend astrology conferences, I would find that everyone was so different. Like, you'd think, oh, we're all going to be the same because we all love astrology and, are working with astrology. But it was really interesting how eclectic all the different astrologers are, and all the different like walks of life and people that are interested in it. It's like there is no, besides perhaps this Uranus Mercury energy, there is no like continuum of sorts. It's all different. So that is what's happening with this Uranus energy, is there's so many options. And you might feel like that. There's like lightning bolts of interesting, eclectic, just like downright unbelievable stuff going on. And the Mercury is kind of trying to go in another direction and doesn't really want to necessarily have to think about these things, yet there they are right in your face. This is an interesting, maybe an example, but in the area that I live in, Canada, there was all this flooding last year, which was very unusual and strange. And I realized in the last year that it was actually this area, and I didn't know that before, is one of the richest agricultural areas in all of Canada. It feeds the most people. There's really rich, fertile farmland, and all the berries are grown here. Lots of like strawberries and raspberries and blueberries and all the berries, and lots of produce and animals and everything. It's a very rich area. And I noticed that there was like weird clouds, and that the weather, that, oh, we're just having a bad June, but there was just weirdness about it. And the clouds were weird, and it was cold, and nothing was growing. But also, oddly, it was very damp and cool, but there was this like electrical charge in the air. Like, I would pet one of the dogs, and as my hand would run down a dog, it would be like millions of little sparks shooting out. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, of course, weather modification is going on, of course. So I'm looking up and I'm trying to like distinguish when this is going on and see if I can find any kind of pattern to when it's going on. And so far, I haven't had all that much luck, except that I noticed when there is Uranian energy in the air, that seems to be when you see the chemtrails show up in the sky. So I happened to this beautiful day the other day. It was clear and sunny and still and just perfect and beautiful. And I was appreciating, like, wow, there's no weird chemtrails in the sky today. How awesome. And then a couple hours later, I look up and I'm like, oh, here's those weird clouds again. Like they're up to it again. And then, you expect the weather to change and it gets cool. But I happen to be like taking pictures of the sky, just trying to like sort of figure out if there's a pattern. I had this insight that perhaps this whole, like, all this weather modification that goes on is done with awareness of the astrological energies going on because they can be used, or like the frequencies that are being sort of pulsed into the planet can be used for this technology. It's just sort of this idea that I got. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to like tap it into like when the sky changes and what the aspects are. And I'm sure it's going to be a lifelong ongoing project, just like astrology. But what I happened to catch was the actual plane flying through the sky, dumping whatever they're dumping into the sky out. And these big plumes, 3 big lines of smoke. And it was like, I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually catching this. So I took a bunch of pictures, took a little bit of video, and it was just kind of like through my backyard and this little bit of sky that I happened to catch it. And I was like super excited that I had actually caught this on video and on camera. And I went into my camera, which, like, admittedly, sadly, is connected to Google Photos. And the plane that was dumping all of this stuff has been disappeared from my camera, from my photos. Like, you cannot see a plane. There's a little like reflection where it might have been the tip of the plane and the sun is hitting it, but otherwise the plane has been disappeared. You can only see the chemtrails coming out of the plane, which is like, what? Like, because it's still considered a conspiracy theory that they're actually dumping this stuff on us. So I just thought that was pretty fascinating. And of course I went to show my hubby and I'm like, look at this. Like, I got proof now. It's like, or there's the chemtrails. This is what's going on. And he looked at it and I'm like, and they've wiped out the plane. And you can just see, he's like, yeah, that's totally what happened. But he just does not want to contemplate it. And that's I'm like, well, aren't you going to tell everybody this, this story? Like, it's so, like, what the hell? And he's like, well, not really. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he just, like, the Uranian energy is like, look at this, like flashes of truth. And the Mercury is like, I don't really want to think about that. Like, that's just not really, what am I even, he's like, well, I can't do anything about it, so I don't want to think about it. And I'm like, oh, God, now there's just another thing I got to try to figure out what to do about. So it's interesting how we can all have our own like limits, right? Like, we just can't contemplate that. It's just too much for whatever reason. We all are under energy, like, shimmy you out of the rut you're in, or explode you out of the rut you're in, or, whatever it is. And if you're not in a rut, Uranus will come along and help you keep moving. It'll help you like let go and detach and not be concerned about, failure and rejection and abandonment and all these things. It doesn't care because it's moving on. So we all have the ability right now to move on and contemplate, if we're able to, like, what just went down and what is going down and what we want to create. With the Leo energy, it's really important to tap into like your heart and who you really are and what brings you joy. And the more that we can all stay in this joyful, like enjoy the planet and enjoy our lives, the more we can do that, the higher the vibration can go. We've all been like sucked into this vortex of fear and suffering, mostly our whole lives, by the programming that we've been handed. But we've got to pull ourselves out of that and focus with which is our sovereign right and all of our power, on the positive, on what is joyful and fun and music and celebration and play. Like maybe you need to roll down a hill or blow some bubbles or like, and it doesn't have to even be costly play. It can be completely simple. Go for a walk in the woods, look at flowers, look at leaves, look at mushrooms, whatever. Like just get out and be a part of nature and tap in to the note of joy, because we really need to raise the vibration of this planet. And it's tumultuous. Stuff is going down, right? And it hasn't stopped going down. It's still going down all around us. But we need to be solid beams of light that can help anchor in the positive vibration. Leo will help us with that. It'll help you get in touch with what brings you your joy, what you want to create. And when you're creating something, because this is a perfect time to do it with the new moon, when you're creating something new, first like settle into your heart and breathe in, a couple, 3 times, breathe deeply and get calm and connect with your heart, connect with your higher self, with your soul, and find out whatever direction you want to go is the right direction. And if it is, you're going to feel good about it. There will be like something lighting it up for you. And if it isn't, then it will be burdensome. It will be troublesome. Like there will be no light in that direction. You'll feel it. You'll just feel it. So if you can do that whenever you're trying to like set intentions or make big decisions going into the future, the chances of you creating something wonderful that will grow with you, like something you don't have to abandon because by the time you created it, you'd grown out of the idea. If you create something just a little out of your reach, then you can grow into it and it can grow with you. And if you tap into your soul and your higher self and your heart, then you'll know what the highest thing to create is and what path you want to take. Because of course we want to take the highest path, right? I mean, stuff gets thrown at us and we got to deal with it, but we can still keep our focus and step by step achieve our dreams. And especially if you're coming from the heart, what you dream is definitely going to be within your reach, or you wouldn't have come up with the idea in the first place. So after that new moon, there's going to be more kind of like, we are coming up to the square between the moon and the conjunction between Mars and Uranus and the North Node. And that's like, again, it'll be triggering. So the whole kind of weekend is full of kind of difficult aspects. Sunday, things will get a little better after the morning, but we do have like Friday the 29th is this square between Mars and Uranus. And then we also have an opposition between the moon and Saturn. And that's difficult too. Like you might feel sad or burdened or like just rejected or abandoned even. The moon and Saturn together are kind of, an emotional drought where you don't feel fulfilled and you can feel sad but feel those feelings. Or you might be able to tap into like a discipline. Like, what do I need to do to overcome this? So it is the moon though. So make sure that you do like feel your feelings, whatever those might be, even if they're hard feelings. The 30th, the moon moves out of Leo. It's a Saturday into Virgo. And that's probably when you're going to want to get all your work done. There's this like an opposition between Mercury and Saturn that will again create possibly sadness. There's so many possibilities because you could feel sad, but you also could just feel very like at one point you're very focused and you're getting things done and you're checking off your list. On the other side, you're enjoying frivolous entertainment or having conversations. Like you can, with an opposition, fit both of these things in, which is what you want to do. You want to integrate both. Oppositions want us, it's not this or that, which is what we feel like when we're under one. I got to pick this or I got to pick that. But it's both that you're supposed to integrate, except for girlfriends or boyfriends or partners. I think probably you need to pick one of those just to keep things smooth and balanced. two of those in an opposition, still, how are you going to keep two things going? It ends up being like, it blows up in your face. So what else do we have here? We're going into August with some pretty nice aspects. The last day of July is blessing us with a trine between the Sun and Jupiter, which is really lovely. It's also a good day for the moon. It'll be making good aspects with Venus, Mars, and Uranus. So perhaps Sunday is the day that things really come together for you. You might start off like a little bit in touch with your feelings, or maybe your feelings and what you value are somehow at a crossroads, and because Chiron is at play here and will surface things from the past that might upset you. So keep that in mind, because otherwise it's a fantastic day on the 31st, which you could probably feel very fortunate and get lots of things done and just feel on top of your game and lucky. We do have coming up, there's another, it's really hard to sugarcoat. Though I'm an optimist, we still are under the influence of some pretty powerful, like the conjunction with Mars, Uranus in the North Node. That's powerful. That's like life-changing for the whole of humanity kind of stuff going on right there. On the 1st, which is Monday, we do have the actual exact conjunction happening. So it's at 4:53 p.m. After that, it should start releasing. So if you have felt like really wound up and stressed out, and like everything is too much, then hopefully it'll start to release after that, because it is a lot of energy. Go slowly, be thoughtful, be careful as much as you can. Avoid, reckless driving, or avoid driving altogether if you can. It's better to keep your feet on the ground, be grounded instead of being in a fast moving sort of situation, because that's when accidents can happen, because the energy is very unpredictable. That's another thing. Uranian energy is very unpredictable. And I find that super frustrating, because I'm like, oh, well, it should be, if we can predict that it's unpredictable, isn't that predictable? And then I'm like stuck trying to figure out, well, like what could happen? It's exhausting. Don't do it. You can't figure it out. It's stuff that you never would have imagined or created. It's just like unpredictable. So I'm telling this to myself. This is like my own advice. Just, keep it together, KIT, because you can't always know everything. You just need to stay in the moment. That's all I know. With the astrology, trying to understand the frequencies that we're dealing with, I find super helpful and amazingly accurate. Like, it's just beyond amazing, this art science business of astrology. But we're also I'm coming to understand it in a different way lately, and I've been working with astrology for 25, going on 26 years now. So it's a very long time to have been interacting and watching it work. And still, I'm learning things, and I always will be learning things, but things that I just, even recently having the insight about the weather modification being connected to Uranus transits. And I'm pretty sure it's even more complex than that. And hopefully I'll just keep having these insights, and will be led to more information about what these insights are and how they can be utilized for the greater good of all of us. But that's Uranus. We are not going to know. We just have to kind of wait for the insights to drop in, because that's how it works. You just get a sudden flash, and all of a sudden you have new information. So just be open to that. Be open to whatever new might be coming. And otherwise, what else can we do, right? We've just got to be aware what's out there and what's going on, and try to negotiate as much as possible. Mercury will move into Virgo, which is a big deal on Wednesday, because Mercury rules Virgo, and it's going to be super happy and productive, and getting things done, checking off lists. Maybe you'll do some major cleaning that you've wanted to do, like cleaning out the gutters, or getting the toothbrush to the grout in the bathroom, really fine-tuned, nitty-gritty kind of cleaning can go down with Virgo. Also, it can be a really good time for writing, for communicating. You're going to be very precise, which is the Virgo domain. So, and also maybe you're going to change your habits. Maybe you're going to start drinking more water and making sure you take magnesium. MSM powder is really good for bringing sulfur into the body, which our cells are, like a huge portion of our cells are made of sulfur. So all the different things you could do to better your health and keep yourself grounded, keep yourself healthy. Work with light. You breathe light, send light, create with light. When you're imagining what you want to create, visualize it and send it light. Sparkle it on up. Give it some shimmer, maybe a little like lightning bolt, like dash, whatever you need, whatever, like light is our amplifier and everything is made of light. And so if we humans can use it to the best of our ability, then we can start making really powerful magic happen in a very intentional way, which I think we've been distracted from so that we don't know we can do this. All like we're indoctrinated in such a way that we are completely cut off from our power. So hopefully you're not cut off from your power and you're in touch with your heart and you work with your light, which we all can do, because then we can create amazing things for each other on this planet. Now, with the Leo energy, we can really harness this light that's going on with this new moon on the 28th. Get out under the sun and absorb the information. What information is coming from the sun? There is like downloads of new energy and vibrations and frequencies that we can harmonize with, especially if we're all charged up with the sun. We're literally like solar batteries. So get out there and get yourself some sunshine and probably stay away from sunscreen, because if they're trying to block the sun from us, I don't think it's for our own good. Just like everything else they're trying to do to us, it's probably not for our own good. So follow your heart, figure out what you want, make sure that you absorb the sun and work with the light and be who you are, because who you are is amazing and you came here to be you, just yourself. Just be yourself. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. Can you believe it? It's so simple. So that is it for this update. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and many bright blessings.